You're listening to Co-Parenting with Grace, the podcast for families raising kids across two homes. I'm your host, Jody Grace, wife, bonus mom, professional peacekeeper, and your teammate in this beautiful work of co-parenting. So put that red lipstick on, Grace family, and let's get into it. Hey friends, a quick disclaimer before we jump in today. You might hear some enthusiastic background vocals from our family dog, Frances. She had a lot of opinions during this recording and was clearly not interested in being edited out no matter how hard I tried. So please forgive the real life soundtrack, and I appreciate a little grace. Today I'm sitting down with my dear friend, Greg Aldridge. Greg and I have known each other for over 13 years, and he's the reason that I got into the successful career I have had outside of this podcast. He believed in me before I believed in myself, and that is just the kind of guy he is. Greg is a third-generation insurance agent for the top company in the country. He is a rock star in the financial services field. He bleeds Kansas City red and Royals blue. We don't get to see each other that often anymore unless we're bumping into one another at a concert or at a Chiefs game. Go Chiefs. But today, Greg is here in a different role. As a grown-up kid of divorce who made the intentional choice to show up differently in his own home. And I am so honored to share his story with you today. So Greg, thank you so much for being here today. You're one of my favorite people to sit down and visit with, and I know our listeners are going to benefit so much from this conversation. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I appreciate the invite. You're one of my favorites too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Busy and life and all the things, but from the first time I met you, there's just an energy to you that I've always appreciated, and I know you put a lot of heart into the things that you do.
Thank you.
I can talk, but I don't just say things. So I was honored that you considered me.
Yeah.
I thought this is an incredibly special and powerful topic that affects literally, when you think about the reverb of it, 2/3 to maybe 90% of the global population when you think about all the dynamics this creates. So I thought it was worth discussing.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I am passionate about this topic as well. And, I knew when I wanted to talk to someone about being an adult that has come out of, that was a child of divorce, I knew that you would be a guy that I needed to sit down with. So let's start from the beginning, and you tell us a little about your family growing up, a little bit about your backstory.
So I would say I've always been fond of and felt very fortunate, the family that I grew up in, and the different, as someone who's lived in and around Kansas City the majority of their life, I think I've lived kind of different sections of that life. So my mother's side of the family historically were farmers. They were dairy farmers, and in the 50s, my grandfather, he kept the dairy farm, but he went into the insurance business and moved into the booming metropolis of Warrensburg, Missouri. And then that kind of reshaped, obviously, the trajectory of the family. Several of his children and close friends and brother-in-law and me eventually, 3 generations later, followed in his footsteps in the insurance and financial space. And then my father's side of the family, from a similar part of the world, central Missouri, they were farmers that kind of, the farm extended into the labor world and the union labor world. So I was raised by my mother always worked in some form of sales. She was a travel agent. She worked for an optical company and started that from the ground up, actually in our basement with her brother, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And now an Australian-based company, which is kind of neat. And then so I was raised by someone that always worked in marketing type sales jobs, my mom's side. And then my father was a union pipe fitter for 40 plus years. And so was his father, and his brother wasn't a pipe fitter, but same deal, union labor. Mm-hmm. As someone that does what I do now, where you relate to so many different types of people and so many different types of, clientele, and incredibly valuable to hear the conversations of what it was like going to the holiday summer parties, whatever, at the Union Labor Hall. That's
Right.
quite a different narrative and perspective than what it's like to talk to, independent business owners that are talking about insurance and financial products all day long.
Right.
And then, but, not unlike most people's stories, you go back into the early 1900s, from, 30s, 40s and before, and every story leads to a farm probably pretty quickly. So same part of the world, but that's kind of where they came from.
Yeah.
So growing up, I'm the oldest of two siblings. My younger sister, we're 2.5 years apart, 3 years in school. And, grew up in Raytown, which was kind of one of the first iterations of suburbia Kansas City. Most of those homes were probably built 50s to maybe mid-60s. And it was that kind of deal where people did okay, but nobody was, wealthy.
Right.
And I thought that was a pretty awesome place to be. You're riding your bike and there was woods down the street, but we lived on a corner of, a 5-lane road. And so it was just like, it felt somewhat urban in a lot of ways. And you could see Arrowhead Stadium and Kauffman Stadium off in the distance. Yeah. And the tall buildings weren't that far away, maybe 15, 20-minute drive, but you could go 15 minutes the other way and you were at a fruit stand on the edge of a farm, And so I always liked that. So I got kind of a balance of scraping your knee and playing in the driveway and playing in the woods and also getting to be around city stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Well, tell me a little bit about when things shifted between your parents, when your parents separated or divorced, what age were you at, and when that had an impact on you?
Yeah, knowing my parents all of my life, obviously now, both still living, it's a shock to me. Like, it's incredible that they were ever married. And I think that's probably a really good idea that they got divorced. I think that probably makes sense for all parties involved.
I think that happens for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is incredible. So I was 7, I think, 7 or 8. All the separation-y, it's not, I don't ever remember it being just a disaster, but I remember it was never good. It was always just tense. And some of my earliest memories are of them is like, you're just old enough to know what's going on, but you're young enough to not know what's going on or the levity of the situation. And I remember we had a very small kitchen. It was kind of weird. The house wasn't that small, but the kitchen was really small. And I remember going in there and you could kind of go around the bin and you're tucked away a bit. So I'm sure like this particular tense conversation was happening in there and quite a ways away from the family room or where we would have been or whatever. And I remember like holding my arms out, like separating them a bit, you know, and it wasn't ever, I never saw the physical stuff. Yeah. My sister did. Yeah. I'm a really sound sleeper and that probably served me pretty well in those situations.
For sure.
And she's not as much. And it wasn't crazy, but it wasn't good.
Sure.
And I remember that as a kid, just kind of playing referee or separating them a little bit, or like, you guys ought to kiss and make up, or just stuff like that. But I don't have like a lot of vivid memories of that, but I remember a little bit of that, which was probably like 4 or 5, in those years. Yeah. But then it was, my grandparents lived about an hour away, southeast, and there was a lot of like, meeting exactly where the halfway point was and like going down there. That's a long way to drive to school. Like in the summer, that might make sense. But I remember there was a decent amount of that, of just jockeying back and forth and it being easier to be down there and always being excited and happy. And it was just so peaceful to go down there, and be around. And that was always when I say I feel so fortunate, my mom's side it's magic. I mean, it's incredible. It's Walton's Mountain. It's 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. Yeah. My grandparents are a love story where she was writing letters to guys in their town. They would all get together and write letters like encouraging, thank you for, it was during the Korean War. Yeah. And my grandfather had met my grandmother when she was 12 and he was like maybe 17, 18, about to go into the service. So she was just a kid. And she was writing a letter to someone else in her town, this JR guy or whatever, and just say, hope you get home safe, all the stuff. Well, she put a picture in there. Well, she looked a little different when she wrote that letter than when she did when Grandpa met her. And JR's like, look at this. I mean, Nita Leslie, check this out. I got people writing me letters. Who's writing you anything? And my grandfather jokingly said to him, I'll be out of the service 6 months before you, and I'll be married to her before you get home. And he did.
He knew.
So that is
I like a man who knows what he wants.
Yeah, not perfect, but it was magic. And they bought the old, I mean, it's a Wonderful Life. I mean, they bought the old ghost house and turned it into the beautiful Victorian, and he walked to work down the driveway every day and knew everybody in town, and most integrity you can shake a stick at. Raised an incredible family that revered him. She revered him, and just so many beautiful memories watching them and watching my mom and her siblings and all the family, the cousin dynamic. I mean, that's that all-American barbecue, lake trips, holiday. I mean, it was always the weekend before Christmas usually, because my grandmother's birthday was the 20th of December. And we'd always gather. That was always kind of the holiday celebration for that side. Yeah. And it's better than any movie could ever be. Like, it's
wonderful.
Caught lightning in a bottle.
Experience.
So that was that side. And then my dad's side, much smaller family. My father was the oldest of two. My mom was one of four. And he was the oldest. He and his brother never really got along. They certainly don't now, which is unfortunate. And their father was, classic, who knows why, but just meaner than a junkyard dog, and alcoholic and all the stuff. And my grandmother is unbelievable. Like, my father's mother, she lived to 102. I never heard her complain about anything. And not in like a weird scared way. She'd just kind of read her books and do her, I mean, it was just incredible. Content. So content. And I always just had so much respect for her for that. And was dealt a hand as far as the way she was treated. I would imagine from my grandfather, I'm sure they had some good times, let's hope. But man, that had a different feel and vibe in that house. The energy was so different. But she was so peaceful. Like, the closer you could sit to her, it was just incredible. So I took a lot of lessons away from that too. But as far as just like what the two sides look like, that's what that looked like. And then 7 is, I think, when the divorce actually happened. I was in second or third grade. So 7 or 8 is kind of when it all came down.
Yeah, I love that you talk about being able to feel the energy on both sides. Like, even at 6, 7 years old, you could feel that energy. So, our kids feel that energy in our homes.
My gosh.
The energy that we create is what at 7 years old they're going to remember at 40, 45 years old. That's what they're going to remember.
It is crazy the stuff that just sticks. The little. I always say, people don't remember what you did, remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
And I used to say to my mom all the time when I was a kid, all through probably like early teen years. Her two brothers and her sister's husband, my Uncle Kerry, so married into the family, and then my mom's younger brother and older brother, my 3 uncles, like as a cooperative, as a collective, like intention. I don't think they ever had a meeting about it, but they were my dad, basically.
Right.
And I remember I didn't see Rick as much, her older brother, because he moved back to Australia and started business over there, whatever. My mom's younger sister, Marcia, her husband, Kerry, great guy. They had 4 kids, young kids, they're in the thick of it. And her younger brother, my Uncle Joe, who was best man at my wedding, who's kind of my de facto dad. Yeah. I used to say to her, Mom, this is weird. Like, whenever I'm around Uncle Joe, just like sitting there, I want to start crying. Yeah. And it was confusing. Yeah. Because you didn't
understand that.
Like, what the heck is that about? Like, I'm not mad at him. I'm not scared of him. It's just so bizarre.
What are these emotions? Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember thinking that's when a lot of that started. Yeah. And
for sure.
It's not that way anymore now. He's one of my best friends, but
wonderful.
Yeah, those were kind of the years that it happened. And just right down the chalk. My mom's got stuff she's probably trying to sort out. My dad, emotionally unavailable. Didn't need to drink every day, drank when it was hard and that whole thing. And then she pours herself into work, and then it's like you're a workaholic, and it's just you can check the boxes of how the decay happens.
You bet.
Worlds start splitting. And,
and people can only give what they're capable of giving. What
100%.
Yeah.
And knowing his father, like I did even just as a child, and hearing him speak to it in a alarming development, revelation. Yeah. My father probably advanced the cause as far as emotional intelligence, which is not it was an astonishingly low bar, and it wasn't set high by him. Right. But he did advance it on some level. Yeah. Same deal like his dad, drinking, didn't come to his games, never, and just all those things. Small town, there's nothing else it isn't like you're out of town on business. I mean, it's just, you're just not there.
Yeah. It's generational trauma.
He did move the needle big time for sure, but not probably by modern day standards. He could be labeled a massive failure in that space.
Sure.
And you may not be wrong, but I can see now, at least from this perspective, that there was some progress made.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you can see that now in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
When the divorce happened, what did that co-parenting situation look like between your mom and your dad, and the back and forth? What was that like for you? And do you believe there was even co-parenting? I know that wasn't even a term I talked about earlier in the season. That wasn't even a term that was defined in the dictionary until 2018. You know, I think a lot of people were just surviving up until we've just recently kind of opened this narrative. But what did that look like for your family?
Yeah, it was the whole, mom had primary custody, but it was shared custody, but it was basically my dad got us every other weekend. So if things went perfect, we saw him 4 or 5 days a month.
Right.
Get divorced at 8. So between 8 and probably 12, 13, that was pretty down the chalk. That's how it looked. And then once you get into your teenage years and it's like, I got a music thing, or I got a game, or my friend's having a sleepover, like you gravitate, obviously, or not obviously, but I did, to the life you live every day.
Sure.
We moved at 13 or 14. We lived in that same home my parents had together, even after the divorce. Dad moves out, grandpa writes a check, he moves out. And that, who knows how that shook out, but probably people have some opinions, I'm sure. And then my mom got remarried when I was 12, almost 13. We moved to Lee Summit. So it's like that was the whole, like, move to the big fancy house in the big fancy suburbs. And basically, like, that was like chapter 3 of my life. Like, one, the parents together a few years, then the whole, like, single mom thing of all navigating all those emotions. Holy smokes.
Right.
I was the man of the house in 3rd grade. I remember, I don't have like giant feet, but I wore like a size 10 or something, like pretty young. And now it's like, I'm not 13 or something, but I remember my mom dating my soon to be stepdad. And I always have, I like to look nice, and I've always liked to dress halfway decent. And he was like, whose shoes are those? And like, he thought some guy's dress shoes were in the house, And it's funny thinking back on that moment, because I wouldn't have been 13, and I would have been wearing those shoes in more ways than one.
Absolutely.
For a while at that point, like years.
Yeah.
That was kind of those years. But then it was, so every other weekend my dad bought a house. He was walking distance from my elementary school. So I remember through like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, he was pretty close, saw him a fair bit. But it was the classic, like, you just sit on the floor in this little room and watch TV and ask him, are we going to do something? And you just never, the best days were the days when I had a game, or like because he would either help coach or, go to the basketball game, go to the baseball game, whatever. And that was always not like perfect, but it was something to do. And, but that's kind of what it was. You just sit in this my dad's life got smaller and smaller and smaller every year. His life was probably the biggest when he was like my age, like early 40s. And not that your life wouldn't simplify, that makes sense to a degree, but it's literally gotten smaller in relationships and just all of it every single day that he's lived since then, which is kind of pretty sad.
Yeah.
But you kind of would go into his very small, very sad world, and then you'd go back into my mom's world, which she's always big and bright personality, and realize she's been carrying stuff around too. But there was other, elements there. But there was this big, growing, vibrant life I was living 90% of the time. And then there was this like small little world where you just kind of go into it. And
and kids are going to gravitate to that big, vibrant.
Where's the energy at? Where are your friends at? What are you doing? So, and I got lucky in those years. My sister had to spend a lot more time at home with the co-parenting situation and the arguments and the disagreements and the scuffles with my stepfather. And that was when I was doing everything. That's when you had all the school activities and your friends are inviting you to do things, and you could go pour into all that, which I was blessed with really good activities and really good friends where that became a really healthy way to spend my time.
Right.
And to grow and to become a better version of who I was going to become. And for her, I think she unfortunately sat front row for a lot more of the bad stuff when we were real little and when it was in the middle, which was not all necessarily bad, but she got the brunt of most of the stuff that wasn't good.
Yeah. You know, to that point, and we touched on it earlier, I talk a lot about the parentified child, which is when a child is expected or has to take on adult roles and responsibilities within a family unit, maybe due to a parent's unwillingness or inability to fulfill their parental role. So was there ever a time where you felt like you had to take on more than a kid should, or like we talked about, you being the man of the house, you know, even if that's emotionally stepping into that? Yeah,
I just saw him. He just played Hot Country Nights last Thursday, but Corey Kent is his name. He's from Oklahoma. Oklahoma State grad. I know you would be.
He's my friend's nephew.
Yeah.
What a small world.
I saw him when he was first coming up, and then it's been fun to see the success he's having. But
very cool.
He wrote a song, whether it's about his youth or not, called "Man of the House," and I mean, it leveled me.
Yeah.
When it was released, I messaged him. I don't ever do that kind of stuff, and I just was like, "Man, this is serious. Like this is gonna hit with some folks." And he responded back like, "Wow, you have no idea what this means, and this is so cool, and whatever. And thank you for reaching out." But yeah, that all the way from that shoes example to like looking back, my mom would say to me, I remember it was New Year's Eve, maybe that first one after all that came down. So I was 8 or 9, maybe 8 probably. And you're 8, you don't know how to do anything really, and she went up to get more popcorn or something. We lived in a split level, kind of like whenever all the, Brady Bunch Ranch thing. And I'm down in the family room, and we were out of firewood. And we had a wood burning fireplace, and that would have been my dad's, realm. Well, I can solve that. The Christmas tree's in the garage. I'll just go cut it up. So I'm out there cutting it up with whatever fake. It's not a real saw. It's lucky. All my fingers are still here. And I hacked off a chunk or two of that. Well, I don't know if people are familiar with burning pine wood, but it burns pretty hot. And with pine needles, it's almost like a firework. So she comes downstairs, and there's a brick wall, and this fire is clear up the wall. And I'm just like, I just burnt the house down. My sister's asleep, had been forever. And I was so excited. It was the first one I was going to get to stay up till midnight.
Yeah.
And I'm on my 9th Coke or grape Kool-Aid or whatever. And I remember that night, or one of those nights like that, in that time of my life, Mom saying to me, you're more like my friend, and Megan's more like my kid. Yeah. And that was a tremendous compliment to me in that moment. And it still is. Yeah. Not realizing at that point in time that 29-year-old me and 32-year-old me and 37-year-old me and now 42-year-old me didn't have any business being the legitimate emotional support system for a grown woman.
Right. You deserve
regardless
to be a kid.
Of who it was. And I don't fault her for that. I don't harbor frustration about that. But I think it makes a lot of things make a lot more sense now.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where that started with her, and I essentially became my mom's partner as far as like just more like a confidant partner type person.
Yeah.
From those years all the way through super close, always super close, high school, college, all those years.
Yeah.
And then I think for my dad, it was always just, he's negative about everything. And he heavily influenced me in like a really good way, in that he showed me kind of what not to do in an astonishing amount of situations. Right. And that's actually can be pretty powerful and helpful.
Yes.
Kind of frustrating in the moment sometimes, but I'm a very optimistic fan of things. I see the good in people. I cheer teams on. I think about what the comeback might be like instead of like we're going to get run out of the building in this game. And I remember we would get down like a score. Like big football fan, played in high school and college, and that's one thing we could always kind of talk about a little bit together. He played basketball too, but loves football. but he's real negative. And I've always thought it's kind of I think negativity in a lot of situations, I don't have a lot of respect for it because I think it's kind of a coward's play.
Right.
Because you make fun of it. I don't care anyway. This is stupid. They're going to blow it. We're going to blow it. This is not going to work out.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't work out, which in a lot of situations, statistically, things are hard. So if it doesn't work out, you're right.
Yeah.
And then if it does work out, you get to celebrate with everybody because something good happened. And I think it's like, I think it's a coward's play.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that. And not that you can't define reality and be like, hey, this is tough, or we got to get a plan. We got to figure this out. We are down 10 points with, 4 minutes to go or whatever the deal is.
Right.
But we'd get down one score in any games like, oh, we're going to lose. Worst thing ever. Is all the stuff. So I just remember growing up around that energy and just like, man, I just want us to win so bad. Like, couldn't we just talk about like what it'd be like if we did win, or like just say anything that would be good or fun?
Yeah.
And that's been a huge motivator to me for my kids of the way I treat the boys and talk to them about situations. And all my memories, except one, all my memories are, it sucks, or we're going to lose, this is terrible, all the things. Yeah. What's going to be wrong with it? And my kids' memories are, my dad was awesome, and we went, and it was fun, and we were there till the end, and we just were all about it, and we gave it our best if we were playing, and we cheered as hard as we could if we were cheering, and we just found gratitude in the moment of those experiences. And I think my dad being the total opposite of that for all those years really motivated me to want to live life differently. And
for sure,
people loved when my mom walked into a room. Her energy just lights it up. And a lot of people you could feel the heaviness of my dad walking in a room and just the sadness and the tension. And I just wanted to be a person that people wanted to walk into the room. They were excited when you were there.
Yeah, you are.
There you go.
Very much. And your mother still is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into, as a young man, when you started dating, you started, looking for your wife. How did that affect how you saw relationships? And, when you were dating and looking for your mate in the world, how did that experience influence how you approached it and who you married?
So I would say for me, like probably, I don't know if other people are like this, but for me, I was joking. I've always been a big rom-com guy. Like I watched a lot of movies because my dad would just sit in a chair and watch television. I don't think we watched a lot of rom-coms at his house, but I loved being an optimist. I mean, you believe in the love story. Like you believe sparks are going to fly and lightning's going to strike. And I loved that stuff. I still do. I still very much believe in that. I think I've jokingly said forever that I'm a woman trapped in a man's body. And nowadays that's weird to say because people have a lot of opinions and thoughts. I don't mean that in any kind of who are you really? And what are my pronouns? I mean it in like I saw almost everything from the woman's perspective because I was raised by women. My grandmother,
2 women.
My mother, so many of her friends, and a lot of them, not shockingly, were really strong. And I've always been very attracted and respecting of really strong women because I saw that in practice.
Yeah.
And that impressed me so much. So I think growing up, I maybe, I don't know about like to a fault, but I just kind of thought that it was harder for them. I thought guys were lazy in relationships. I thought that that was a thing because I'd seen a lot of that.
That's the example
up
you
close,
had.
And what's interesting is I've always really appreciated this. My dad, he's a victim, so he likes to describe the struggle and maybe let's blame some folks and then say he's not blaming him like while he's blaming him.
Right.
But my mom, she never badmouthed him.
Yeah.
I never remember it. Like in goodness gracious, could there have been opportunities, and she never did. And I don't even know if he'd believe that, but she never did. She never piled on. She never, ever, not one time. I never remember being like, what an idiot. This is not ever. And I had friends. I used to think like, wow. Because a lot of my friends, half your friends, parents get divorced, whatever. And you'd hear that kind of stuff.
All the time. Yeah.
And you'd hear it all the time and it made you sad. And I knew how much it hurt my buddies' feelings and things, or how you're just like, well, does that mean like I'm like from something bad? Or does that mean, I remember seeing and hearing them just kind of deal with that and not know what it all meant and felt. And so I always really appreciated that about her, is that she never badmouthed him one time.
Oh, it speaks to her character. And it takes a lot. Like you said, it wasn't for a lack of opportunity.
No, heavens. I mean, there would have been abundant material.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's I think that that's huge. And so you mentioned it a minute ago, your boys, you have 2 boys.
Yep.
And, handsome, grown, my gosh, they're just getting older by the minute. And I want to talk about your role as dad. Your upbringing, obviously, everybody's upbringing plays a significant role in how we choose to parent.
Yeah.
Or how we choose not to parent.
Yeah.
So how did it shape your approach to fatherhood and how you wanted to raise your boys?
I would say, it's had just a huge, huge impact. And it's interesting now because my oldest is 16. So even just the other night, it's crazy. Oh my gosh. Even just the other night, I just kind of not 20 questioned him, but I was just asking him like, hey, what are things that you, are there things that you think, Graham, I should have a better understanding of, or would help me to understand differently from your perspective? Are there things that, what are you excited about and looking forward to the rest of this year? And like, what are you scared about? And just kind of running him through just to try. And now the answers you get back, So yeah, it definitely has heavily influenced how I parent. And I don't remember very, very minimal affection type stuff from my dad. Like I don't remember, like, I don't think like super like anti-touch or whatever like that, but I don't remember a lot of that. Certainly not as I got, other than being a little bitty kid, and I'm big on that. I remember my aunt, my mom's oldest brother's wife, she would always say, you're comfortable giving your mom a hug and a kiss and just being like, just kind of, affectionate to your family. And I like modeling that. And I think one of the, like they say all the time, if you want to teach a kid, but you want to teach a young boy how to be great in this world, love his mom.
That's exactly right.
And so I think I am very intentional about that. And not just in like all the lovey-dovey ways, but in like the learn how to disagree.
Yeah.
And have them see me sitting there having a conversation with my wife about something and their mother that is constructive, and it's okay that we don't have that all sorted out just yet.
Right.
And modeling that we don't bottle it up. Like that's not the answer. Avoidance isn't getting anybody anywhere.
Correct.
There's peacekeeping in the moment for the sake of, getting through that. Fair enough. That's being a professional or being an adult or being respectful. Okay.
Right.
That shouldn't last longer than a situational setting. And then you got to get somewhere with it. So I probably, back to the whole, raised by women, I'm definitely like when you hear all the satirical, well, men just want to not say anything and women want to talk it out. My wife and I are actually quite the opposite of that. She would kind of be the one that would maybe not want to talk it out as much. And I'm like, let's just talk about it.
Passionate, yeah.
And so I like modeling that for the boys because they're going to have their own biological setting and, emotional, wherever they are on that scale of how they're going to handle things and what are they going to want to bring up and not. But I think it's important for them to see that, and I have done my best with that. And then just there's not a day that goes by where I just, even if it's just a quick little hugging on them, I still kiss them on the cheek all the time.
Yeah.
Just, they're never going to wonder if their dad loved them.
Absolutely. And that's huge. That affection, it's proven that a 20-second hug makes your, was it your oxytocin? Is that what it is? Go through the roof, So I tell my boys that every day, you know, you got to give me your 20-second hug. I need my happy meter to go to the top. You need your happy meter to go to the top.
It's huge.
Yeah. And to give that when it wasn't given to you is something that's noble, because there's so many people that repeat patterns and live in generational trauma.
Sure.
And so when you see someone like yourself, like my husband, that are doing the work to heal that and say, no, I've seen it done this way, and I want to do it different. I want my children to do it different.
For sure.
That's huge.
And I talk to him about that a lot too. I'll say, I sent my son a video of this not too long ago. I was thinking about it one night, like a month or two ago, just kind of random. And so like videos captivate people's attention, certainly teenagers. It's like if it's not on like a snippet clip, something that good luck getting it maybe read or responded to. And I just said, this is what our name used to mean.
Yeah.
It meant you were a drunk.
Right.
It meant you were a bad husband. It meant you were a coward. It meant you were a victim. It meant you blamed everybody else. It meant that you justified mediocrity to failure in compounding fashion. And it doesn't mean that anymore.
No.
And then I said, you guys, and I sent them each individually, but I was like, you are picking the ball up and running with it and doing things that I couldn't even have imagined at the stage of life you are at. Right. And don't think I don't see that. Don't think that doesn't matter. Don't believe anything other than just how significant that is. And that's pretty cool. So I think just speaking to that, and it's tricky. I mean, teenage boys are just going to be what they're going to be. You're going to have to pick your moments of when you get the deeper connection. But
yeah,
it heavily influences just so many day-to-day interactions.
Right. You talked, earlier we were kind of talking as we were getting set up about how, things showing up at 42, 43,
Sure.
or 42, right?
42, yeah.
That you're like, where did that come from? You know? So as a grown man, do you feel like there are still parts of being from a divorced home or being a product of our raising as we are that show up in the present?
Yeah, I think so. We were talking before, and there were, it's just a random situation where the motor was like coming off of this little tiny fishing boat in Canada on this like remote middle of nowhere lake. And it's like, if this motor comes off, like we're not close to anything. Like a plane dropped us on this lake.
Yeah.
And it was so bizarre because I don't usually get that worked up about things. And I was kind of like, I felt like a rush of like anger or just, I don't know, like it felt like hot all of a sudden. And I'm trying to not have this boat motor fall off and leave my family stuck in the middle of this lake. And, it surprised me how worked up I got about it.
Yeah.
And we got it fixed and got it going again or whatever, got it clamped back on. And then on the way back in, I remember thinking, and I looked at Stacy and said, I think I'd been on a similar trip with my stepfather. Mm-hmm. And he, God love him, like he showed me lots of stuff. I mean, he was the finer things in life guy. He was a great cook. He was a great host. A lot of it was, I think, you keep it sped up and you keep a room crowded and you don't have to really feel the stuff you got to feel when it empties out and quiets down. I think that had a lot to do with why he was so good at that. But he was great at that. And he taught me a lot of those things. And even though he was very emotionally, his father died when he was very young. He never really met his father as old enough to remember. His dad died in the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. So he had a stepfather that raised him from day one, and then two half siblings. And I think there was a million layers in there of like stuff you'd kind of hear about and come out. So, I mean, he obviously harbored a lot of anger and frustration with that, I think. And I don't doubt that I caught some of that. Yeah. But I think all in all, that relationship was a net. Like I took a lot more away in wisdom, and he was the man I was around during those years. And I didn't know how to, tie a fishing hook on right. I didn't know how to fillet a fish on the bank of the deal. And the electric knife broke on that same trip. And it was funny how all of my cousins were like, how do you fillet these fish on electric knife? I said, well, you just do it with not an electrical knife, and here's how. And they're like, oh, yeah. Well, John taught me that.
Yeah.
But in the same moment when that motor's coming off and I'm like having this wave of anger, he was also a nitpicker. Like in everything, he would just jab you. He wasn't going to scream at you. He would just make you feel terrible because his stepdad made him feel terrible forever.
Right.
And why can't John use that bathroom? Why can't, it was tough. And in the moment, when I got so worked up on the way back in, I got back and said to Stacy, I think a 13-year-old kid who was in that boat with his stepdad is who was trying to put that motor back on.
Right.
And then in the same hour or two of like how maybe that felt awful in that moment, or that brought back whatever it brought back that wasn't good, that broken fillet knife of then we didn't have a fancy electric fillet knife in whatever 1990 something. We were up there doing that.
Right.
And you did it all by hand. And so, I think I just chose to, I worked really hard to impress him because it annoyed him really because he wanted to nitpick you. And if he couldn't, it really made him crazy. But whether it was yard work or whatever, I would just like do it and just be like, yep, we're good. And it almost like in a rebellious way, but it like taught me to work hard. So like that actually was a net positive. It may have come from a weird place. Yeah. But knowing your way around the kitchen, and he was a great gift giver. He was really good at like showing off for people, like for them, like he did it for him, but he made people feel special, and he created occasion really well. He hosted really well. And even though the reasons why may have come from some darker places, I wouldn't describe him as overly manipulative. I mean, emotionally to some degree. Yeah. But I think I took a lot of good things out of that.
Oh, absolutely. Just hearing you say that, it helps me understand. I've been to a party with you before. I've seen you throw a
Yeah.
You know how to host.
Yeah.
You know how to have
But
a good
John
time.
was so good at that. I mean, my
Yeah.
grandmother was amazing at how to make people feel in that room.
Right.
And it was all just so real. And I saw that version of it. And yeah, John was very good at that.
Yeah.
And I always thought if you could take a lot of his knowledge and a lot of his ways that he created and curated experience, if you could just do it from a more authentic and loving place, you'd really have a mashup that'd be pretty special. And that's how I thought about things with my mom and my dad. Like I've always just tried to think, you have all these mentors and you have all these lessons that are just around you all the time. Mm-hmm. And I say a lot that perspective typically comes at a high price because we have to learn it ourselves. Like the bad thing happens and you're like, well, now I learned that. Or now I'm grateful all of a sudden when I'm sick, or now I'm whatever.
Right.
I just thought, I don't know, man, if you could just garner perspective at a lower price. And I think there were so many examples of that.
Yeah.
And then people say, like professionally now, oh, you're really good at what you do. I've been good at making people comfortable in tense situations because I just got crash coursed on it for 2 decades.
Right.
Well, it turns out that we're from mixed backgrounds and had different socioeconomic profiles and had different political interests and had different family, all these things. Well, turns out in my day-to-day life now, that's a superpower.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's like, oh, that's like so traumatic and bad. It's like, well, I don't think it necessarily has to be that.
No.
So you're right. It does show up. It does circle around. And I think I've said this kind of off air too, how I notice, I think, those situations more now, these last just very few handful of years, because those were the years that I was really in the thick of that.
Right.
Was like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, those years.
Very impressionable
Maybe even
years.
like 12 to 18, because that's how long they were married. 12 to 18. They divorced in the middle of my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, are you going to be like really sad if we move out of the big house and down this? And I was like, no, like, let's just go be happy. We don't need this house.
Yeah.
We can sort it out.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because we had the nicest house of all my friends. They all had nice houses, but I just mean like this thing was nuts.
Yeah.
Wasn't really conducive for like hanging out with teenagers, but nobody ever came over. They came over to watch one game one time. And we had like the most amazing house on a lake. I mean, it was just like, why would you not be there every second?
Right.
My mom's tiny little living room in her duplex that she rented for 6 months between when she moved out and bought the next house. My buddies were packed in there every other second, all 6 months of that. And that was incredibly telling too.
It's where that energy was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of funny how that happens.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it shows up all the time, I think. And I feel like I get hit with it more now because those were the years that it's like you get deja vu.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the heck? And
wow. Yeah.
you've been here before. It was just
Where did that
different.
come from? Yeah. It sneaks up on you.
Yep.
For sure. Your wife is from a blended family as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So
A master class on divorce. Her parents are a master class on divorce.
Are they?
It's impressive. You'd never even believe they were married. You'd think they were like just like childhood neighbor, best friends or something.
Wow.
Like you would literally, if I met them at it's a small community, like a picnic or some, whatever.
Yeah.
The Knights of Columbus Hall or something. Who knows? if I would have met them, I would have believed that he was good friends with one of her brothers.
Really?
And that they lived across the street from each other. Like I literally, like it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
That's wonderful.
And not just that they can do that part, but what's amazed me is I've been around since Stacy was 23 and Patty was 26 or 7 or something. If the girls are in town, like if their daughters are somewhere, they just, why are we gypsying around and not that we didn't go to her mom's and go, we did some of that.
Yeah.
But if her dad has a fish fry, if JB's having a fish fry, his ex-wife and her husband, because they are part of the family with the girls, always invited.
Love that.
Incredible. And when there's the holiday gathering, the birthday thing, whatever, not that they're always going to go to the other person's thing.
Yeah.
Always invited.
Yeah.
And man, that was so impressive. And I've said that to both of them, what a gift you are to your girls, to your grandkids, to your friends, and you don't even know you're this.
Yeah.
You are role models to so many people around you that you don't even know you're influencing them.
Right.
And I'm sure there's layers, and I know there probably are.
Yeah.
But man, you want to talk about, I always say one of the greatest compliments you can give anything is that was about what it was supposed to be about.
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest compliments you can give any situation among human beings.
Right.
Any interpersonal situation.
Because we like to make things about ourselves.
Oh my gosh. And I just have so much respect for the both of them in that regard, and I've told them that numerous times.
Yeah, because that's not easy, and most people would look at that and think, "Oh hell no, I couldn't do that."
Well, and not knowing any of the stuff, and I mean, I still don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, just all like way later, secondhand. It impresses me even more. Like everybody's navigating so much when they're going through divorce, and then to be able to put that aside and just be a family for the people that everybody needs it, right?
Yeah.
And you think it's a gift to others. It ends up being a gift to you too,
yourself. Right? Yes. Yeah. You know, I have talked about that, how I, struggled for a long time early in my co-parenting relationship because my husband had a relationship with this other woman and they had children. And that was something, of course, that I wanted to share with him and wasn't able to. And so I really struggled with, how can I have a relationship with this woman when I have insecurities, I have jealousies, I have these big feelings around what happened. Much. And once I was able to separate, this is the woman that had a relationship with my husband, and this is the woman that we're raising children with, my life became exponentially easier. The stress lifted. There was such this relief. Like, I don't have to live a lifetime and be angry with her for what she got that I didn't, or what I am insecure about. If I can stop focusing on that and just focus on, this is a woman that I'm raising children with. She brought them into this world, and thank God she did, because now I have 2 children to raise.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, and so it's looking at things through, we are so geared to look at things through one lens.
Yep.
And you have the ability to change the lens.
Yep.
And I think people forget that, or they just get so stuck in.
And that's all we have the ability to change, by the way.
That's exactly right.
Is it John Maxwell? Somebody talks about that. Or no, it's Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits. He talks about how, we are unlike animals in that regard. Like, we are responsible, but he's like, we are response-able. We are able to respond. Like, we don't just get hit in the snout and like lash back. Like, we are capable of that in our most animalistic way, or I don't know if that's a word. But I think that's so huge, where the happiest people in relationships, the happiest people in their careers, there's this myth that like everything they do, they just love. Right. And that's just couldn't be further from the truth.
Right.
It probably is only 25 to maybe 50% of whatever they're doing. If they're in like a euphoric situation, that they're just, oh my gosh, this activity or this experience, I love it so much.
Yeah.
Most happiness, most misery, and everything in between is the prescription on your glasses, right?
Right.
Like, I can give you the fanciest pair of artisan glasses of all time.
Yeah.
If they're not set for your eyes, you literally are worse off with them on. You can't see anything. I can give you the fanciest pair of shoes of all time.
Yeah.
You can give me I don't even know what it is, but my wife watched that Sex and the City show for a while with the Carrie Bradshaw or whatever. Manolo Blahnik. You give me $5,000 pair of Manolo Blahnik. If I can't put them on, it's artwork. It isn't a shoe.
Yeah.
But I think I love that idea of like what lens you see it through. That is the only thing we have that really impacts every single situation we're in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've talked about your fatherhood journey, so I don't want to, keep bringing back to that. But, how it's shaped your raising, how it was shaped by your raising. I think everyone's raising affects how they parent, but what is something you consciously do different as a dad?
So I stole this to a degree, or I borrowed it, I tweaked it, whatever. But my Uncle Joe, who was the best man at my wedding, my mom's younger brother, he's the hero of my life.
Yeah. When
his oldest son was doing his apprenticeship, if we call it that, in my office several years ago, I mean, he was in his late 20s at the time, his oldest son, and he would speak to how his dad, when he would take him to school or in the mornings, he'd say, great days, great weeks, great months, great years, great life. Key to great life, great today.
I've heard you say it.
And I've kind of modified that. So whenever I do my speaking engagements or with the boys in the morning, usually during the school year is kind of when we get on the roll with it. I mean, I usually start it, but sometimes they will, or I'll even text them now, #great days, and just they know, great days, great weeks, great months, great years, great life. Key to a great life is a great today. And I said, key to a great today is a great attitude. And I'll say, who's in control of that attitude? You.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether it's, because I'm big on that, man, the weather. Okay, well, this last 72 hours was pretty euphoric. How many San Diego days do you get if you don't live in San Diego and pay $1 trillion a foot to live there? You know what I mean?
Right.
And the number of nobody wants to hear the struggle described. No. And I've just wanted to coach them or teach them or mentor them where everybody's, going to be wherever they're going to be on that emotional scale of just kind of how they come to situations. But that, great days are a product, or a great life is a product of great days and great moments. And be present, be impactful, and I'm big on attitude. That is a choice, and it's not just some blind faith or some like Pollyanna thing. Yeah. Positivity and a great attitude in the face of opportunity and or adversity is it's genius. It's one of the most disciplined things it possibly takes. People that are great in situations, they're great because they're disciplined, not because they're just better at it.
Right.
They do all the things people don't see. They make all those little choices. They make those little deals with themselves for better or for worse. So I think that taking that from Uncle Joe and picking it up and running with it. And I remember doing that when they were little. And I'd always say, when they were real little, when I'd go to work, I'd say, Dad's going to go change the world today. Just like, just joking with them. Yeah. And I remember one time my wife stopped me when they were pretty little, like Garrison would have been in like the high chair and Graham would have been not far out of it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't say it. And I was like leaving to the office. And one of them said, you going to go change the world today, Dad? And Stacy stopped me and she said, my parents are good people, Greg. She's like, they're hardworking, good folks. But Sunday nights and a lot of evenings in between were kind of, back to the salt mine or, the grind or whatever. And she goes, that was kind of work and knowing, they had hard jobs. I mean, they both did a lot of, manual labor stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, you're tired, you're sore, all the stuff. Right. And I get it. And they're both hard workers, super hard workers. And I respect the heck out of both of them. But she said, do you realize how powerful that is, that you're framing that for them, that is what work is and can mean, is that you're going to make an impact and change them. And she just said that, and I remember, they were real little, but I remember just thinking, that we must be getting something right. And then in my little 20 questions thing with my son the other night, not 20, but I was just sitting there firing him off just to see, because he actually answered one, so I thought he might answer 2 or 3 more. And I said, what lesson do you think you've learned from me that has had an impact on you? And he said, you got to work for what you get. Like, it ain't just going to happen. You got to go make it happen, And I think making it happen, when I say that, it's like, there was never a good excuse with my mom growing up to have a bad attitude. Like she, there could be, you could talk about what was going on and tough and whatever, but there was just never a good enough reason to just have a bad attitude. Yeah. And man, that stuck with me. So I think I've always wanted to have that resonate with them. And, I probably invest and talk to them more in that particular realm than anything else. Yeah. It's not even close.
That feeds right into the next question that I had for you was aside from the work ethic that you have modeled for them and the positivity around that you can build what you want with this life, what do you hope your sons will one day say about the life and the home that you gave them?
Whew, that's a pretty good question. I would want them to say that my dad loved me. And I would want them to say, my dad just loved people. And not in like a cliche way, but he like loved on people. Like he made it about other people. The greatest compliment I could probably get from them would be like, my dad was a giant and he made it about everybody else. Yeah. And I think we all have the ability to do that. I think we all have the ability to speak to people's greatness and see things in them maybe they can't see in themselves. And so I would definitely want them that it was the same deal, that there was that the Annie, like the buy-in was a good attitude, and not in like a fake way, because we're not here to be fake. Nothing. No. Things that are unsustainable and fake are just so demotivating to me. It could be anything. I have no patience for it. I'm not interested in it at all. So I would want them to speak to that, how my dad taught me how to have and how to own my own circumstances and realize just how much control and influence over them you have with your attitude and outlook. My dad taught me to work hard, and my dad loved my mom like crazy, and was a great friend and just loved on people.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. I know they'll be able to say that.
Hopefully.
Already. Well, for the people listening today, reflecting back on little Greg's experience, what is one thing you wish parents or co-parents knew about the lasting impact of divorce on their kids, or what can they do today to make a difference?
As a very pro-marriage person, right, I'm very much, don't find a better partner, be a better partner. I think there's a lot, these patterns and the things that are fractured or that we struggle with, the demons, the things that are broken within us, whatever we want to call it. They're all repairable, but I think a lot of those patterns just repeat themselves, and people you start over, and it's the new honeymoon phase, and it's just like a heart monitor chart, like it's up and down kind of deal. It's a volatility of emotions. And so even though I'm all about, hey, own it, make it better, I'm okay with divorce too. Like there's times that it doesn't make sense and you need to move on. Absolutely. It made all the sense in the world that my parents moved on. My advice to anybody would be like, whether you are in it because you're in it and you're doing it, and this is what we are committed to this and we're making this happen and we're parenting as a married couple, or if you are divorced and you are co-parenting or you are doing it, whatever the version of that is.
Right.
I would challenge people that go be the best version of yourself you can be. Quit worrying about what anybody else is or isn't doing, did or didn't do, should or should have done, and spend an astonishing amount more time looking in the mirror than you do pointing any fingers about anybody else's anything.
Right.
I would say that because that's what everybody needs is, I guess it's just to be accountable.
Yeah.
Be accountable and model accountability.
Yes.
Not blaming, because I beg, borrow, and steal most of these quotes and things I say from things I've read or heard, but this is a Greg Aldridge original. Accountability is a dish best served cold unto others.
Yeah.
Like most people love talking about accountability if it doesn't involve them. They're all about it. Well, these folks ought to be doing this, or my team this, or my sister this, or my friend that, or this guy over here ought to be doing. And I know that stuff never comes up when you talk about people getting divorced or navigating that kind of, it's real easy to point the fingers. So I would say that, to just like live an accountable life and model that, because that's what these young people need.
Yes.
And that gives you the space and the emotional capacity to actually love and be of value to them, and not just be dragging them along and making them pick a side and seeing it from your perspective. I would say that. And then I would just say, we think it's all about other people when we give of ourselves and time and energy and whatever we're doing to pour into others. It's really the greatest gift you could ever possibly give yourself. And everybody on their deathbed, I don't know a person that's like, man, I'm just so pumped I was a bad father, or I was a bad, a lot of people, there's a ton of demons where they take it all the way to their grave of like, I wish they would have known this, or I wish say it then. Just say it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a relative of mine, I'll leave it out for anonymity purposes, and we both have shared kind of connection as adults. She's older than me, she's a generation older than me, but and is my aunt, and she was both parents divorced multiple times, all stuff.
Yeah. And
we were having kind of somebody was talking about something in some situation amongst it. It was a nice birthday party setting, and it was the end of the night, and a bunch of people were leaving, and we were talking about just kind of how nice it would be. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be in their life. I don't know how to be I don't know where to fit in, and all the tension and all the stuff people don't do out of just fear.
Yeah.
And she looked me in the eye with like a tear in her eye, and she said, gosh, dang it, if they just knew, just be there. Yeah. Like, just show up. Yeah. Just be there. And we didn't say anything else. Yeah. And we both just knew. Yeah. And that meant a million different things in a million different situations. Right. And we both felt it so many times. And all the BS sense of like, well, the tap dancing of like, what, done too much, and and no one's ever going to get all that right. Right. And it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary. There's going to be times where like, I cannot go to this birthday party. Like, I'm not, I cannot do this. I'm not going to, whatever it is, that we navigate as people. That just, it's tricky being a human being sometimes, but I think just be accountable, Look yourself in the mirror, own your own circumstances and make them better, and model that for these kids, and just show up for them, love on them, and just let them know you love them, just over and over and over. You are great. You're wonderful. You're just wonderful the way you are, and just freaking love on them.
Yeah.
And my other aunt said this, who's very married and very amazing mother and grandmother now and all this stuff. My mom's younger sister, I'll never forget her saying this about kids when we were expecting our oldest. And, you know, what about the thing? You go in and touch their back and make sure they're breathing and all that. What about the drops? Where are the drops? Where are the drops? Where's the swing? The things, all the things we're doing with the drops. Can't swing, can't sleep without the swing. I mean, all these things, you're just nervous. Are you doing it right? And I remember her saying, your kids will always love it, whatever it is, because it's the way you did it.
That's right. That's powerful.
And those are two like very different perspectives of like how parents should show up for kids, and then how, you know, in a two divorced adults sitting there going, yeah, right, dealt with all that, and then a very married, very, you know, all four kids under one roof, they'll, you know, die side by side, all the stuff. And man, such powerful advice for how to show up for your kids.
Right.
In, you know,
in any parenting
the theme
situation.
Doesn't change.
That's
it
right.
doesn't change.
That's right.
Yeah. Make it about them. You know, make it about them. I think that's
right.
You make things about others, things go pretty well.
Yeah.
You make it about yourself, it kind of gets rocky.
It does. It does. Turning those tables.
Mm-hmm.
If you could give advice to a child currently living between two homes, what would you say?
I would say, just, you know, love on both of them. Let them know if you appreciate anything about them, right, or little things they do, and tell them you do. Like, even if it's just little bitty things. Reinforcing the behavior that you like and appreciate, as opposed to asking for the things that you don't have. It's easy, you know, when you're on your way up, of like the shoes, the this, the time, the bed, the curfew. We're asking for something.
Right.
I want a little more. Yeah. And that's natural to a degree. But I think, thanking them. I heard one of the radio hosts of the Royals recently. He was talking about how he's got 4 or 5 kids, and his cohort, Denny Matthews, who's like in his 80s now, who's been the voice of the Royals since 1969. He said, Jenny, I've had all these wisdom conversations, and he goes, at times I'll be getting calls pregame from like the kids and my wife, and I'm dealing with stuff, whatever. And this is, you know, Ryan Lefevre talking, and he said he's asked Denny a lot, like, how did you handle this with your kids? How did your dad handle this when you were being raised? Mm-hmm. And Denny said to him one time that his father, probably back in like, this would have probably been, I don't know, like the 40s and 50s, he said, you're going to be just as stupid as I am someday, or you're going to not know what to do like I don't right now someday, but I love you, and I'm saying this because I love you. Yeah. I like the unfiltered, not just popping off, but sometimes just, you know, give your parents not a free pass, but give them the benefit of the doubt, and just let them know the things that you do appreciate about them, or the things that they do that you might admire, that you respect or appreciate. I think that goes a long, long way. Because as parents, we all really wonder if we're doing a good job.
Right.
Or if we're making it happen at all. So I would say something to that effect.
Give them grace.
100%. Yeah, you know a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for you as an adult, how have you found peace and healing with the parts of your story that hurt?
I would say, I mean, hands down, my wife. You know, just I've come to realize and appreciate. I get asked a question of the day. We do this couples like relationship app thing called Paired, which is pretty cool, because you get like pops up a question a day. It's kind of cool. Some are super applicable, some not as much, whatever. But and it said, like, if you could have a superpower as a couple, what would it be? And my answer was to see things from each other's perspective. Like that would be pretty powerful, you know, and I think would make you pretty mindful in a lot of situations. But I say that to say, she probably, not surprisingly, right? I mean, we spent a little bit of time together. Yeah. Married 17 years and known her for 20. I think she saw there was a question that I saw a video clip of it. It's a similar kind of a thing. I don't know what it is. I think it's called The Second Skin or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was, it was a couple. I don't know if they were married or not. And the question was, if there was a hurt in me that you could heal, what would it be? Mm. And I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful, because someone really close to you, they're going to maybe see the things you don't see, or their own perspective, whatever. And I asked her that at some point in the last year. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it's been a little while. And she said something to the effect of, I think you carry a lot of weight around from things from your parents that you've had to just navigate and deal with for a lot of years of, being a major support system for both of them in different ways. Like my dad even said to me one time, he was like, I'm going to learn a lot more from you than you ever learn from me. And while again, that's a compliment, you just sometimes, it's like the Ben Rector song, I miss my old heroes. Like, you don't want to be the smartest person in every room you're in, or feel like you're the most dependent upon person ever. Like, you want especially a place to land sometimes. And I didn't really get to do that much with my folks. Mm-hmm. And that's okay in a lot of ways, but it's also, have its challenges in others. But I think she saw a lot of that and has noticed a lot of that, and has suggested very sweet and kind and wonderfully that I should probably, seek some of the perspective and the support that I have sought to navigate some of that. Yeah. And yeah, I would say, I didn't really write it. I guess I co-wrote it, but we did you could write, like a gift someone a song. So I put all the thoughts together, and then an actual songwriter wrote the song. Yeah. And one of the lines I put in it was that Stacy's a walking masterclass on humanity's potential. Yeah. And I think that her recognition of a lot of those things that I carry around or she's probably seen come out in really awesome ways and really less than awesome ways at times. Mm-hmm. But just to be so loved for who you are, right? And just to be, just seen in a way of, it's just okay, right? And just that it's all going to be okay, and that everybody needs and deserves those moments when you don't have it figured out and you don't know, and you're scared, or you're just like, man, what is this going on? Yeah. And having somebody that's like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And I think the greatest moments of intimacy or love or connection in our lives, that's what's happening. Right. Some version of that. Whether it could be, it doesn't always have to be your partner in life, but there's those moments, your closest friends are like that. Yeah. I say it to people a lot whenever stuff's getting tricky. I'll say, your best friend, you're not like, oh, my best friend, because we always just get along great, and everything's always been amazing, and that's why we're so close, is because we've always navigated all these amazingly wonderful, euphoric experiences where there was no pressure, stress, or frustration, and that's why they're my best friend. Right. Or why they're my whatever. Yeah. Like the things we're the most proud of, the relationships that are most significant, we've navigated a lot of heavy stuff. Yeah. And I think that she's obviously my partner. She's my favorite part of everything. And she's seen hurt and just stuff that have within me that she's helped me navigate, but also just made okay, or loved you through it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that for you.
It's good.
Well, Greg, this has been some incredibly powerful stuff today. The healing for yourself is the most important part, so that you can show up as your best self for the people that you brought into this world. You have shown us what it looks like to grow up in a split household, but still choose to raise something rock steady. And thank you for your willingness to be vulnerable, to revisit a story that holds both weight and wisdom for you. To every listener tuning in, especially those raising children across 2 homes, I hope this conversation gave you insight into what your child may carry, not just now, but into adulthood. And if you are that adult child of divorce, I hope you feel seen. It's never too late to parent differently, to heal what hurts, to become the safe place that some of you may not have had. You are not alone in this work, and I will remind you again, you are doing better than you think. I'm Jody Grace, and you're listening to Co-Parenting with Grace.